No maid lasted an hour with her, not one. She screamed, bit, destroyed furniture, and every single person quit crying, until the single dad walked in. No resume, no hesitation, just one sentence. Where is she? And what happened next? Nobody expected. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The elevator pinged. The billionaire's penthouse smelled of fear. 4 housekeepers stood outside the door, one of them sobbing into her apron, mascara smudged and hair yanked out at the root. "She's a demon," one whispered. "She threw a ceramic mug at my face for breathing too loud." And then the doors opened again. He stepped in, mid-30s, broad shoulders under a faded bomber jacket, combat boots worn but polished. His eyes? Calm, dangerous, like he'd seen worse than tantrums. The billionaire CEO, Alyssa Monroe, crossed her arms in disbelief. "You don't look like a nanny." "I'm not," he said. "I'm a father." She scoffed. "You think that qualifies you?" He didn't flinch. "Where is she?" That's all he said. No fake smile, no resume. Just those 4 words. Alyssa's lip twitched. Down the hall, room with the claw marks. He turned and walked. No fear, no hesitation. Inside the room, the girl was crouched under the bed, breathing heavy like an animal. 8 years old, wild hair, tear-streaked cheeks, dressed in silk and rage. She spotted his boots first. "If you come closer," she snarled, "I'll bite your throat." He sat on the floor, crossed his legs, pulled a granola bar from his pocket, unwrapped it, took a bite, said nothing, just waited. Her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" He spoke calmly. "Eating." Silence. Then the girl inched forward. Not much, just a toe. Then 2. Then suddenly she darted from under the bed and lunged. But instead of flinching, he caught her mid-air like he knew it was coming. She kicked, punched, screamed. He didn't move. He just held her, tight, safe. And after a full minute, she stopped, collapsed, and sobbed. The hallway outside was dead quiet. The billionaire stood frozen. So did the head of security, the therapist, the butler, and the personal chef. Nobody said a word. The girl had never cried before, not even at her mother's funeral. 10 minutes later, the little girl had her arms wrapped around the single dad's neck, like she'd known him forever. The billionaire CEO watched from the doorway, stunned. No one's ever gotten that close," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Not without getting scratched." The man didn't look up. His voice was low. "She's not wild. She's terrified." Alyssa blinked. "Of what?" He finally glanced at her. "You." It hit like a slap, but she didn't argue, because deep down, she knew he was right. "I'm Jack," he whispered to the girl. "Jack Murphy. You can call me whatever you want, but I won't lie to you, and I won't leave unless you want me to." The girl didn't reply, but she held him tighter. Her tiny fingers trembled. Her eyes, so full of exhaustion for someone so young, blinked slowly against his shirt. "I don't know your name yet," he added gently, "but I can wait." "Celia," she whispered, almost inaudibly. He smiled just once. "Nice to meet you, Celia." By the next morning, the billionaire penthouse had changed. No screaming, no broken glass. Celia was still quiet, but different. She followed Jack like a shadow. Ate breakfast for the first time in days. Let him braid her hair while telling a story about raccoons stealing his socks during a camping trip. Alyssa watched from the hallway, frozen. Her daughter was smiling, actually smiling. Later that day, she approached him in the kitchen. "You were in the military?" He nodded. Army Ranger, 8 years. That explains your, She paused, searching. Composure. Jack rinsed a plate and set it aside. My daughter used to scream too. That stopped her. I lost her, he added. Quiet. Final. Alyssa said nothing for a long time, then whispered, I'm sorry. She was 7, Jack continued. Leukemia. We caught it late. A beat. I couldn't save her, but I learned how to listen. A lump rose in her throat. You don't fix kids like Celia, Jack added. You survive their storms. You wait them out. You show them they're safe. Alyssa gripped the marble counter. I've tried everything. No, Jack replied, turning toward her. You've thrown money at everything. That's not the same thing. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't deny it. Suddenly, a small voice echoed from down the hallway. Jack? He was already moving. I had a nightmare, Celia mumbled, eyes puffy. He knelt beside her. I'm here. She leaned into him. Don't let go. I won't. He didn't, and for the first time since her mother's death. Celia slept through the night. The next morning, Celia drew a picture. There wasn't much, just crayon lines on thick white paper. But Jack recognized it instantly. A stick figure with broad shoulders. Another, smaller figure with curly hair, holding the first one's hand. And beneath them, a single word, safe. He didn't cry. He just smiled, folded the paper carefully, and tucked it into his wallet like it was the most valuable thing he'd ever owned. Later that afternoon, Alyssa called him into her office. She stood by the window, arms folded, wearing her usual $4,000 blazer and a wall of emotional armor. I want to offer you a full-time position. Jack didn't move. I already said I'm not a nanny. I'm not asking you to be. She turned toward him, her voice lowered. You're the only one she listens to. You've done more in 2 days than 3 therapists, 6 caretakers, and 9 specialists did in a year. He stayed silent. Alyssa hesitated. What will it take? That's the wrong question. She frowned. Excuse me? You can't buy trust, he said calmly. You earn it. Her face cracked just a little. You think I'm trying to buy my daughter's love? No, Jack said. I think you're trying to skip the hard parts. His words weren't cruel. They were real. And they hit her harder than any insult ever could. She sat down, slowly. What do I do? Jack studied her for a moment. Be there, he said. Even when she pushes you away. Especially then. A long silence stretched between them. Then she whispered, I don't know how to be a mom anymore. Jack finally softened. Start with one question. What does she need today? Alyssa blinked hard. And what if I fail? You will. She looked up. And then you try again, Jack said. That night, Alyssa knocked on her daughter's door for the first time in 6 months. Can I come in? She asked softly. No answer. She started to walk away, but the door creaked open behind her. Celia stood in her pajamas, blinking. Then, she opened the door wider, just enough for her mother to enter. Alyssa's eyes welled up. Can I sit? Celia nodded. They didn't say much. But that silence, it was the beginning of something new. Jack watched from down the hall, unnoticed. His eyes locked onto a photo on the wall, one of Alyssa with her husband, now deceased. Jack didn't smile, but he felt something shift. For the first time, this house felt human. 3 weeks later, the house was unrecognizable. No more staff cycling in and out. No more broken dishes. No more screaming. Instead, the sounds were subtle, laughter echoing from the kitchen, a harmonica Jack had taught Celia to play. Alyssa humming along, off-key but trying, One afternoon, Jack came in from fixing the garden hose to find a note taped to the fridge. "Gone to get cupcakes. Be back soon. Celia made me pinky promise." He smiled to himself. That night, Alyssa handed Jack a manila folder. She looked uneasy. "I need you to see something." Inside were dozens of pages. Reports, psychiatric evaluations, words like severe trauma, delayed emotional response, possible attachment disorder. Jack flipped through them silently. "I tried," she said softly. "Every expert, every program, every solution." He closed the folder. "You never asked her what she wanted." Alyssa flinched. "She wanted to be held," he said, "not healed." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I didn't know how to grieve. I buried myself in work, in efficiency, in being strong." "She didn't need strong," Jack whispered. "She needed real." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I want to try again," she whispered. "You already are." Later that week, Jack found Celia drawing again. This time, 3 stick figures. One was Alyssa, another was Celia. The last question marked Jack. Above their heads, us. But the piece didn't last. It never does. One night, Jack was in the kitchen when he overheard 2 of Alyssa's business partners talking near the study. "He's just a hired helper. You think it's smart letting a former soldier play daddy to your daughter? Don't be naive. He's a temporary fix, not a long-term solution. He's probably after the money." Jack didn't flinch. But when Alyssa entered the room and didn't defend him, that was different. Later that night, he packed his duffel bag. Alyssa caught him at the door. "You're leaving?" Her voice cracked. "I told you," he said. "I won't stay where I'm not wanted." Her eyes went wide. "Wait." But he was already gone. The next morning, Celia stood at the window with the drawing still clutched in her hand. Torn, confused, betrayed. She didn't speak, didn't eat, didn't move. The silence returned, and it was louder than any scream. Alyssa stared at the space Jack left behind. Then she walked to her father's old safe, entered a code only she knew, and pulled out a weathered envelope. Inside was something Jack had no idea she kept. Something that would change everything. It rained the next morning. Not a soft drizzle. A cold, punishing storm that slammed against the penthouse windows like it was grieving too. Celia refused to get out of bed. Her stuffed bear was untouched. Her crayons were packed away. And the drawing, once proudly taped to the wall, was now folded under her pillow, the word "us" scribbled over with black. Alyssa stood in her office, soaked from running to the mailbox herself. She held the envelope Jack left. Inside, one photo. Her daughter asleep in Jack's arms. On the back, a single line. She just needed someone to stay. Tears burned. She rushed to the door, only to stop, turn, and storm back into her father's study. She opened the safe again, pulled out that weathered envelope she'd found the night before. Inside, a military commendation from 10 years ago, awarded to Sergeant Jack Murphy for saving the life of a young woman during a hostage evacuation overseas. That woman was her. Alyssa hadn't recognized him at first, not through the trauma, the beard, the weight of years, but it was him. Jack had saved her once before. Now, he'd done it again, and she let him walk away. Alyssa drove through the storm, found him 2 towns over, checking into a modest motel. Drenched, distant, still carrying that same duffel bag like it was a part of him. She didn't knock. She just walked up to him, chest heaving, holding the military certificate in one hand and the crayon drawing in the other. "You were never just a hire," she said, voice trembling. "You were the only person in that house who was real, and I pushed you away." Jack stared at her. "You saved me twice. she continued. But this time, I need you to come back and save her too. Jack looked at the drawing, the photo, then at her, and finally whispered, "Is that what she wants?" Alyssa nodded, eyes glassy. "She hasn't said a word since you left." The next day, Jack returned. He didn't knock. He just opened the door, walked down the hallway, and paused in Celia's doorway. She looked up, and without a word, threw herself into his arms, sobbing, shaking. He held her the same way he did the first day, strong, quiet, present. And this time, he didn't let go. Weeks passed, then months. Jack never moved out again. He built a garden with Celia, cooked breakfast with her, took her to school, and stood by her side when the teacher asked her to speak in front of the class. When she said, "I'm Celia Murphy," the whole room clapped. That night, Alyssa stood beside Jack on the patio. "She used your last name." He didn't respond, but his grip on her hand tightened. And when she leaned into him, whispering, "Thank you for staying," he finally said, "She saved me too."